Hi everyone, it's Marilyn Alori and welcome to Who Can It Be Now? And for those of you who see video, I am in my tennis clothes. I had a lesson today. Today's going to be a really, really important episode. So I want you to buckle up and listen because we are going to be talking about how to become fully whole and how to really own your being and come from the place of where your being is, the future you, which is actually happening now, and how to make decisions from that place and to really understand your operating system and how not to operate from an old paradigm, an old pattern, old habits. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. About the value of yourself. We're going to be talking about what it's like to really be seen when you start stepping out there and not waiting to be seen. And we're also going to be talking about a bit of how I can help you because I recognized as I was studying this past weekend my business model and everything that a lot of people don't even know what I do and how I can help you. It's not going to be a sales pitch. What I'm going to do is weave in stories, but also share a little bit more about myself. I don't even know how far I'll go into it because I'll probably share more of that down the line. So, as always, I want to start off with a story. But before I start off with a story, I do want to talk to you about the strategy calls that I'm doing right now. I'm recording this on June 29th, 2023. And whether you're listening to this a year from now or a week from, well, you won't get this for like 2 weeks anyway. So, um, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing them. I don't do a lot of one on ones at this value, at this price. And so I'm going to say to you, if you're really thinking of doing it, do it. The ones that I have done, people are like blown away by the information. I should have testimonials for you, right? I'm just not one of those people. I have a hard time getting testimonials, not because people don't want to give them to me, just because I forget them. I forget what people say. Or when I ask for them and I get them back, I just kind of like, I don't know. It's just a weird thing with me. And it's not a receiving thing because I can receive what I do for people. I really can understand it and really value what my guides do. It's more about, I just move on. That's all. That's what I think it is. But anyway, people are really loving it. They're getting so much value from it that it's really, really helping them in a lot of ways, but also it's feeling like it's lasting a long time for them, which is really wonderful. So if you're interested in doing that, go to marilynaloria.com/call. And what happens on that call is the first like 7 minutes. You may think that's like a short amount of time. It's not. I speak really, really fast and give a lot of information. I do a little reading on you about your mission, why you're here, what's going on in your life, what gift to highlight, and what spirit is saying to you. And then we jump into the strategy and I coach you and get you very clear on what's standing in your way and how to move forward. Okay. So check that out at marilynalori.com/call. Okay, so I had an interesting week last week, and as I always, I'll start with a story. And I'm hoping I'm going to be okay because it seems like when I do video, it's getting activated. So there's obviously an energetic component to this that spirit just dropped in that I'm going to have to work on. So last week, I was doing a Facebook Live. I just decided to do a Facebook Live. I don't even remember what it was about right now. That's how fast I'm accelerating these days. But I think it was about, as usual, telling people to get off the fucking fence or something like that. I don't remember what it was. And I started getting dizzy. And I was like, what is going on? And sometimes that happens to me at Facebook Lives if there's a lot of energy coming at me. And I figured, oh, maybe it's just that. Or maybe I didn't have enough protein that day because I've been eating more vegetarian. And so I'm not going to get into food habits and what people eat because I don't care what you eat. Anyway, so I got off the Facebook Live and I went into the bedroom to take out the dogs and everything started spinning. And I was like, oh man, I have a lot of responsibility. So I was like, I got to get the dogs out before this vertigo, I knew it was vertigo, kicks in really bad. And so I tried to take Micah out. And luckily, Micah didn't want to walk because it hit so bad that I was laid flat out on my back. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. So I was like, I got to get Dramamine or something. And so I went on DoorDash and ordered Dramamine from pharmacy. And it was so bad. And I was really kind of scared because I had my animals I had to take care of. I have tons of steps here and I didn't know what to do. I am getting dizzy. This is going to be interesting. So anyway, I called a neighbor up because I was like, I need help. And this is new for me to ask for help. So, any of you who don't usually ask for help, I hear you, change it, ask for help. So, I called a neighbor up and she wasn't home. And I was like, I was close to tears. I was so ill. And I just left her a message. And so I went and called another neighbor because I needed Dramamine really bad. Oh, this is before I called out DoorDash. Did it to DoorDash. And I called my neighbor and she's like, I'm kind of drinking. I have friends over. I just made this beautiful dinner. Like, I'm crying on the phone. I'm like, I'm so sick. Can you help me? And she's like, I just made this amazing meal. And I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And I said, okay, no, it's totally fine. I don't want you to get in a car drinking. I'll call somebody else. So then I called my other neighbor who's an older woman and she was like, well, can you, and then I noticed CVS canceled the order on DoorDash. I was actually doing both simultaneously because that's the way I work. And meaning when I want something, I'm like, I get it. And my neighbor was like, well, can you find out where it is? Can you call around? And she's an older woman. And I was like, I was so sick and crying. And I was like, sure, I'll call around. And I just hung up the phone. I wasn't going to bother her because I just didn't want to ask her to do it. So I got onto DoorDash and I ordered Dramamine from 2 other places. Cost me like $50. And then I started trying to look up video to find out how to get rid of it because I did this technique last time to get rid of it. And I did this one technique that I never did before. And oh my goodness, did it get worse? Like, so ill, so sick. And I contacted a doctor because I hit my head 2 days before. And I'm telling you, this story is going to go somewhere. And you're going to be like, Marilyn, you just told this like crazy story 2 weeks ago. Trust me. I'm going to tell you why this is happening. And it's going to change your friggin' life. So I did this exercise. It was so bad. I was so sick. And I just laying down. I could lay down and look one way. And the Dramamine, and I got in touch with the doctor because I hit my head and I wasn't sure if this was a head injury because I hit it 2 days before. And of course, like I just finished reading a chapter of my clients too. I do coaching, one-on-one coaching, and she's writing this incredible book. And she was talking about a brain injury she had and how she was really, really sick. And I was like, oh no, you know how those things happen, right? So the Dramamine came and I took the Dramamine, I made the doctor's appointment and I got on my bed and I tried to feed the animals because I had to take care of them. And luckily they were so good. The dogs, they went out into the backyard, went to the bathroom. The cat, of course, was meowing like a mofo, bothering the crap out of me. And then I got on a call with the doctor and she asked me a lot of questions. And she's like, it sounds like vertigo. And I said, yeah. And she's like, but if this happens, that happens. Like she gave me symptoms to watch out with because of the head injury. And while I was on the phone with the doctor, the first neighbor called me back. And I called her up because I was still really ill and the doctor prescribed something. And I'm not against prescriptions when I'm that sick. I do most everything through natural ways. But if there's a place where I'm reaching the limit and I don't need your opinion on this, you can do whatever's good for you. This is my opinion for my own body and my own physical being. So don't email me and say, you should never take a prescription because I'm not going to, I'll just delete it. So anyway, I called my neighbor and I said, can you go to the pharmacy for me? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, let me make sure they're opened. And I called the pharmacy and they were closed. And I called her back and she said, no, find a 24-hour pharmacy. And I said, no, I think I'll be okay. And she's like, are you going to be able to sleep tonight? And I was like, I don't know. I'm really sick. She said, Marilyn, find a 24-hour pharmacy. I'm going to go get the stuff for you. Super sweet woman. She's a healer too. So I found a 24-hour pharmacy. I called the pharmacy and the pharmacy's like, it's already in the system. We can't get it. Let me see what, and I told him, I was like, I'm really ill. And he's like, let's see what we can do. And he's like, man, you are friggin' in luck. This doctor put in 2 orders by accident. So we have it. So send your friend and this is what you need to do. So I called my friend up and she's like, do you want anything else? Can you eat? And I'm like, no, I can't eat. And just give me ginger ale. And I don't even drink soda, but when I'm sick like that, I'll drink ginger ale. And I hung up the phone and then I did the Epley technique, which really helps. And I'm not a doctor, so look it up. And I started getting better. The Dramamine was kicking in and everything was kicking in. And then my beautiful neighbor came over with ginger ale and the thing. And she's like, do you want me to do a healing on you? And I was like, no, I'm finally getting better. I just need to sit. And she's like, I'm going to leave my phone on all night. And this is like really sweet, right? Call me in the morning and tell me how you're doing and all of that. And that was great. And she went. And it's hard to ask for help when you need to ask for help. But here's the big lesson. I'm like, what the F, man? And I'll tell you something. I was not a victim through it. And if any of you listen to episode, I think it's 141, this is episode 143, you'll hear everything I went through a couple of weeks ago. And I was sitting in my backyard at one point, sitting down on the steps, crying. And I was like, but something amazing must be happening. Something incredible must be happening. I was not a victim. I was like, I need to understand what's going on in my life right now. And so the next morning, I went into meditation to channeling, and I learned I'm not ready to give the exact lesson for my guides, but I learned actually, I can, they said, that I need to come from a different consciousness, that the consciousness I'm operating on, which was for me a big dream, they said, you're no longer operating at this level. You're operating at a different level. And just that week, the week before, actually, I taught this absolutely mind blowing lesson in Next Level Living, which, if you guys want to know about Next Level Living, this is where I'm teaching them how to evolve at such accelerated speed in their own gifts, their own being, their own personal nature. The group is so dynamic and so fantastic. We just finished clairvoyancy and multi-dimensions, right? So you're wondering, like, I am topsy-turvy and I'm working with seeing in multi-dimensions and living it all at the same time, because past, present, and future don't exist. They exist right now in the same time. Time does not exist. So during the meditation that I took them through in that particular class, and they all got off that call like, oh my goodness, that was friggin' mind blowing. Because the work that's coming through me is unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. So no wonder why I'm like topsy-turvy myself, right? But I'll explain to you what's happening. So Next Level Living, you can read about it at marilynaloria.com/next. And you have to apply for that program. But you could direct message me, or you could email me at info@marilynaloria.com and ask me about it, because not just anybody can get into that program. I have to know where you're at in your consciousness before you get into it. It's a great program. We're going to talk about pricing values in a second. And it's not even priced that high right now. So I went into, during that class when I was teaching, I went into a meditation. I took them through a meditation, my guides did, and I saw a vision I never saw before for myself. And I was like, oh, I could get down with that. I like that. And they expanded my dream. So when I went into the channel session after the vertigo, the day after, they said, you have to come now from that consciousness. You can't operate at this lower level consciousness. That's how fast we elevate. And if we're not elevating our dreams, where physical bodies can be off kilter from where we're supposed to go. So spirit knows where we're meant to go. Our unconscious knows, like that. Let's say our genius, our mission, our soul knows where we're supposed to go, not our unconscious. And where if we're not operating there and we're operating from an old program, then there's going to be disruptions in your life. So if you're experiencing a lot of disruptions, this is why you're not aligned with the new consciousness and you're not conscious to it. Go to Next Level Living, marilynaloria.com/next. You want to be in that class. Trust me. So I was like, oh my goodness, they're totally right. I understand what they're saying. So that's what's happening. And then I had a therapy session that day, and I wasn't really going to continue with the therapist because I'm feeling pretty good at what I'm doing. And we talked about, I shared it with her, and then we talked about stuff. And she was like, you hit your head again? And she's like, the vertigo. And we went through another conversation about how outside people can affect your point of view. So I needed that therapy piece, which was really great. She's an amazing therapist. So then I got that piece in, and then more dropped in. And I recognized that my being, my physical body, operates in fight or flight a lot because I had so much PTSD ever since I was a kid. One of my earliest childhood traumas is I watched my father push my mother up against a porch door and hold a gun to her, hover over her, hold a gun, and shoot like 4 times while she screamed for us to get out of the room. And we tried to call 911 and the line was busy. So that happened. Then he left the house, shot through my mother threw us in the bedroom, shot through the wall, and missed my brother by an inch. So there was so much that went on before that was already traumatizing. And then that was a very defining moment, right? And then when you suffer, and a lot of us have very traumatic stories. I don't even have, it just happens in our lives. Like, we're healers, we're spiritual people, we're on a spiritual journey. But what we don't realize is a lot of that lives in our physical body. Now, I know that I've had PTSD and know it, but I don't operate a lot in that in my regular life. I'm usually able to use my techniques and tools, but I'm going on a deeper level. I'm going higher now. I'm going to a bigger teaching. I'm going to bigger work. So that stuff is getting kicked up. And what I realized is my choices and my decisions are still coming from a fight or flight mechanism. Think about it. If you listen to episode 141, I was freaking out about Micah not being able to use the stairs. I went into fight or flight, misdiagnosed it, I'll say it that way, as intuition, because I needed an answer, right? So my fight or flight was like, here's the intuitive hit, here's the intuitive hit. And I'm like, yeah, that feels right. It's all aligned. And then I hired the crazy person. And I'm going to call him crazy because I don't give a shit. So you cannot operate from the old programming at all. You have to come from a future vision of yourself. This is what we're getting ready to teach in July in Next Level Living. So it's not about the future dream of yourself where you're meditating and you see your future self and you start feeling it in the meditation. And then you come out of the meditation and yeah, you feel it, but it lasts only 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes. No, it's got to be weaved in your being throughout the entire day. And you have to become so conscious to it that every decision you're making is coming from this new level of being, which is peace, harmony, balance, abundance. It's not scarcity. It's not fear. It's not anxiety. You really have to bring in. Now, there's so many teachings about this, right? I'm not being like I'm writing, I'm declaring something, but this is the way it's taught to me. The way it's taught to me, what makes me different is the guidance, the psychic work, the gifts, the intuitive nature, the trusting of yourself above anybody else, how to work your instrument. I've never been somebody to take someone's power away, ever. I've never been like, I'm all powerful. Come to me. I'm fucking good at what I do. I know that. Okay, I was going to stop cursing. That was 3 episodes ago. Anyway, I'm good at what I do, but you're good at what you do too. And that's what I want you to know. But I want you to learn the techniques and tools of how to walk in this being, this new being. So that's the stuff I'm going to be teaching in Next Level Living in July. So if you want to come to that class and you want to learn about Next Level Living and you really want to accelerate your being, and really, it doesn't matter what you do for a living. I just did a business tip for them for the dimensions of clairvoyancy one. And I did different examples for the scientist, for the vet, for the author, for the healer, for the medium, because we have people that are all walks of life in that program. And this work speaks to everyone. It's not a one-stop shop. It's a shop for you. But you have to learn the tools and techniques to turn on your instrument and work with it and then live from that place, right? Because you're living your life, not me. So I got super clear to this, very, very clear. And I was like, great, I know what to do because I know how to get conscious in the moment. And I never realized that the PTSD or the anxiety and the fight, let's call it fight or flight, because I don't go into a lot of PTSD attacks. I went into it 2 weeks ago when I did episode 141. I shared that with you. But it's very rare I go into that level of stuff. It's usually will show up as anxiety in my body. It'll usually show up, that's the way it shows up. I'm very conscious of it, very aware of it, but sometimes I push through it, right? So I'm just like, wow, and I do my thing. You can't do that. You can't. So what's been happening now is I'm getting very conscious to it, and I'm like, oh, I see you. I see you, little one. You're trying to come up and like rule my life. No, 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 no. You don't get to rule my life anymore. Not even mad at it. I'm like, I gotcha. You came out of hiding, you little monkey. And I make a different choice. I raise my vibration right away. I don't need to go into meditation. I do it in an instant. I'm in my next being, my future self. I'm in it right there in the moment. I'm not even closing my eyes. I'm like walking the dogs or I'm driving the car. It's just happening. And I'm making a different choice. Okay? That's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. So it can show up anyway. Like I got off the tennis court Saturday. I'm not going to get into the whole story. I guess I could. It is a funny story. Okay, I was on the tennis court and playing with a new group of people. And it was only the tennis coach, one other guy, and me because nobody showed up to the drop-in that day. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And so they called in another guy, and it was really, really, really good tennis. Really good tennis. And this coach doesn't know me that well. And I'm like, I hit a ball wrong. I'm like, fuck me. Whatever. We'll talk about that in a second. And he like laughed and he's like, I actually like that in a woman, like it was just like that kind of a comment. And there's an older gentleman, much more distinguished, playing, but he asked me to breakfast after, so I don't think it affected him. And the other guy was just like one of these weird, whatever. We're not going to get into that. We're not going to talk bad about people, but it wasn't my type of guy. We'll just say that. So then there was a point where I went, mother, and I was like, Marilyn, what are you doing? So I left the tennis court and I started beating myself up for cursing on the court. And I went, no, that's not who I am anymore. I don't beat myself up. I don't do that anymore. I love me. I can make a better choice next time, a different choice, because this doesn't vibrate with me any longer. It doesn't feel vibrationally good to do that on the court. For the most part, I really try not to do that. I never do it at USTA because you can't curse on the court in USTA. I'm actually very quiet in USTA. But I was like, no, not doing that. And my body was like, roar, 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 my heart. And I felt it. It was so uncomfortable because it did not like the fact that I was making a different decision. I was making a different choice. And I had for 20 minutes, I had to sit there as I was driving home, like, nope. And the thought was like, you are, you're, whatever wants to call me. I'm like, sorry, not doing it. I love me. Yep. I'm going to learn from it. That's all. Make a better choice next time. See you later. And then the heart's like, roar, roar, roar. You think it's your heart, but it's not. Your heart is peaceful. Your heart is love. Your heart is unconditional love to you. So I was like, oh, I get this. I get how this works. I get how conscious you have to be in the moment to make a different decision. Now, you do need to have a future self. You do need to have a vision of that in order to empower yourself in the moment to know that there's better choices. So if you're feeling hopeless, you just can't. You got to come from a different place. No matter, look, I can't speak to everybody's life. I just can't, and I'm not going to. I'm not going to sit here and go tit for tat for anyone about what their struggles are because I'm not in their shoes, right? So that wouldn't be fair of me to do that to anyone. I can speak for my own self and then speak for my clients too, who I help if they're in, they very rarely ever step into that place ever. And if there is some of that comes up, I came up with a client like a month ago, she went through something and I was like, what, this wasn't your fault. Like she was taking responsibility. I'm like, this wasn't your fault at all. And I'm honestly was like, so we dove in and I'm like, no, like you're taking blame for something. It's not even your fault. Learned patterns, learned behavior. Didn't even realize she was doing it. And we had this amazing session to just wipe that out of the way. And she moved on. So you want to get conscious of that and you want to change that. Okay. If you want to work with me, this is the kind of work I do. It is elevated. It is not the typical, I can't speak to other people's work, and I wouldn't do that because people are magical, people are gifted, and then there's people out there that truly suck. I'm going to be honest about that, right? They just don't know what they're doing. They've maybe dipped their toes into spirituality, and they think that they're at this place where you can teach. I call them like those, they're pretend spiritualist people, or they're bowing down to you, or I was just sharing this with a friend of mine. I hate people that put namaste at the end of their email. I have an issue with it, especially when we're getting into a heated little discussion via email. And all of a sudden now your email says namaste. It's basically telling me to fuck off. You're not all namaste with me. You're pissed off at me. And now you're saying namaste. Come on. Use it for the real meaning that it is. I'm a yogi. I go into yoga. I say namaste. I mean it. I mean it. I'm not saying namaste to somebody who's pissing me off. So I call them pretend spiritual people. Know who you're studying with. Know who you're studying with. Now let's talk about your value. Okay. We're going to talk about a few other things. I'm keeping these podcasts shorter because just different people that I've been coaching, they're really stepping out of the closet. Right. So one of my clients who I have been, she's amazing. She's so talented. She has so much going for her. Like she's got all these different modalities. She's just really a great channeler. She's in touch with beings from other planets, everything, like really, but very grounded, super grounded person. Just so friggin' talented. I'd love to say her name. She gave me permission to tell the story, but I don't want to say her name. And just because I didn't ask permission for her name. So I've been coaching her. She's one of my coaching clients, and we've been doing social media around her work. And I'm I'm not even pushing her. I'm encouraging her and pushing a little to get out to do reels and everything. So she did a reel and she Voxered me right away because they have Voxer support. And she was like, "Whoa, I did that." And somebody from my high school watched it, and that really triggered me. And I am so triggered. And no matter how much I consciously talk to myself, I can't believe how triggered I am. And I said, this is exactly what happens. People think they're ready to be seen, they're ready to be heard, or and then they step out, and this is what happens. You can't get ready to be seen and heard hiding in a closet. You just can't. Now I know this client for years. She's studied different things with me, and she is stepping out now. And I'm like, see, you would have never had that lesson in the closet. People are waiting till they're ready to be seen, ready to be heard, ready to be healed. They're healed now. And now I could step out. That doesn't happen until you step out. And then that crap hits you in the face. And then you have to use the techniques and tools to work with it. Right. And you want to be with a teacher. And here I am going to sing my praises again. That tells you honestly, this is what happens. It is. I'm not perfect. There are moments sometimes I have such an elevated group in Next Level Living. They're so great that sometimes I go in and I teach a lesson. It happened last 2 weeks ago when I was teaching this lesson. And because the month before I was a little unorganized in my teaching, and I felt it and I said it to them. I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't want to do that again, right? I had a syllabus because I get downloads of information of what to teach. And so this time I came on and I'm teaching new material. I'm teaching clairvoyancy in a whole other way. And even Monique, who's in my class, she was like, when you said clairvoyancy, I was like, oh, great. I love clairvoyancy. And then she's like, you taught it in a completely different way. I wasn't expecting that. And so when I was teaching the class, I had a little bit of insecurity because it was new material. But you're not allowed to project that. Like, I'm like, that's okay. You're insecure. Too bad, girl. Put it aside for right now. You can deal with that later because you got to teach this material. And my guides teach through me. And I'm never going to project that onto the class. I'm not going to allow that. So I've learned how to do that. I teach how to do that. So the point is, it doesn't matter what level you're at, especially as you elevate and continue to be seen more and continue to put stuff out there. You are going to go through things at times where you're going to be like, you're going to have that kind of feeling. I'm really into sound effects lately. And you just have to walk through it, right? Or get with a coach or class of like-minded individuals that can support you through it. So my client obviously reached out to me right away and we had a conversation about it. And as far as I know, she's fine with it now. She understood it. I was like, this is all part of the process. Thank you to that guy for liking your reel. So don't think that you have to wait until you're healed before you do this work. It's not going to happen. You have to step out now. Stop hiding. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Okay? If you think you're never going to experience insecurity, I think there comes a level, like if you look at billionaires and really successful people, I'm sure they have, I know a good story. I'm sure they have moments of insecurity, but they have the techniques and tools to handle it and they don't let it stop them. So I've been watching Smartless is a podcast with Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes. And I was watching the HBO special of their live show. And on their second show, they had a guest that the audience hated, that people were leaving. And I was like, it's really fascinating watching the documentary because I didn't know this on their social media. Apparently, they got attacked by it. I didn't know any of that. And I was like, wow. They keep cutting to the audience about them bored and like talking and like hating it. Like you could see the audience's discomfort. And I was like, wow, is another guest going to come out? Like, what is going on? And then as the documentary went on, apparently they really got hit bad with social media saying like, how dare you? Like that was horrible. And you see a little bit of their struggle as they were like, well, the podcast is about the three of us and we have different kinds of guests and it was an up and down struggle and they were trying to figure out the way out of it and what to do and how to make it better moving on in the tour because people were expecting, their first guest was like Will Ferrell, expecting a list. So you look at that level of stardom, right? Those actors, and you could see a struggle. And I enjoy watching it. I'm not having a problem watching it because I like the podcast a lot. You may not like it, but So it happens at every different level, but you're never going to grow unless you push yourself to grow and expand and push yourself out there. Again, get into a community of people. I'm going to tell you that we have a great community, because great community of people that really support you, and they get together on their own and they do things. They just got together, or they're getting together this week actually, to share each other's modalities, what they do, so they can learn more about each other. They can refer each other. They're hiring each other. So it's becoming a great network for them, which I'm really glad. And I have no problem with that. Donna, who you're going to meet soon, because I'm going to do an interview with her. She's the one, she was like, can I do this? I'm like, yeah, by all means, go do it. It's great. I'm excited for you guys. They do readings together. They do business stuff together. They're all helping each other out. And somebody recently said to me on my post on my public page how they can't find a community that supports them. And I'm like, you certainly haven't been in my communities. And I've heard this from people too, that you go into communities and the leader, the teacher, wants to be the guru. So there's no room for you to grow. And then that creates a dynamic of competition in the group. So it can shut you down as a sensitive person. And I will not look. Can I control everybody? No. But I can tell you from what I see and what I've heard and how these people become friends, that very rarely ever exists in my programs. Now, this one, you have to be invited, I have to get to meet you in a call or an application before I invite you in. Membership for Your Soul, when I had that program, that had 450 people at it at one time. For the most part, the Facebook page was great, because I won't allow any nonsense or riffraff to go on there. But they may have been things that went on behind the scenes. It's a community of people, but I never heard about it or anything. I think I heard about it once, and the person was like, I handled it. I was like, okay, good. Okay, so here's the last part: valuing yourself. So I just did a post on Facebook and this person listens to my podcast. So please know I'm just using you as a teaching tool, but you may see things in this or hear things that I say that rub you the wrong way. I'm very honest. I'm very direct. When you are in my world and something happens, then you are bringing to me a teaching moment. You just are. Ricky, you're going to have to edit this part out because my alarm's going off. Thanks. So I'm very active on my social media, so I'm getting to know a lot of people there. And I can't remember what post I wrote recently, but I write a lot of posts where there's a lot of engagement, because I want you thinking, I want you learning for yourself. I want to get to know you. So it's really important to me. It's not just me telling you how to be. It's like as community, right? As community can be. Matter of fact, so much so that Facebook recognized me as one of the top 5% creators of the week last week. And it was really kind of cool. So this woman emailed me saying that she wanted to do a session with me, but then she listened to my podcast and she felt like it helped her and blah, 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 blah. And I know who she is. I've seen her for a while around me. And I can't remember exactly what she wrote. And I wouldn't reveal that anyway, because I don't have her permission. And I wouldn't do that because I believe in privacy. And I wrote her back and I said, you should do these sessions, and I didn't say it that way. I said, these sessions, I don't know how long I'm going to be doing them for. That's not a sales tactic. I'm being honest with you. And people are being blown away by them. They're incredible. That's the strategy sessions, which I already said, MarilynAloria.com/call. And I said, so here's the link if you want to sign up. And then the next email I get is something to the effects of, I wrote you a home email, but I had to step away and think about it. But in the meantime, here's a video I watched. And I'm like, what the F is that? She's probably going to be so pissed at me, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just can't hold back anymore. And I was like, well, what is that? I asked you if you wanted to do a strategy session. The answer is simple. It's either yes or no. I don't need a story. I'm not going to be insulted. I don't care what you do. You're the best bet for yourself. I don't care about stuff like that. And I certainly don't need you to send me a video of something to watch. That's nice of you. You want me to watch something? I don't really have a lot of time, but I can, she's just trying to be helpful. That's okay. I don't have a really big problem with that. I just thought it was weird. So I wrote back a very direct email and I said, thank you. But the question was simple. It was, do you want to do a strategy session or not? Because remember, I told you I'm not begging people, not dragging horses to water any longer. I'm done. Make a decision about what you want to do in life, who you want to follow, who you want to study with, and then do it. Stop sitting and waiting till you have more time, till you feel better. Look, some people are really dealing with a lot of health stuff, so I can't. Like I said, I can't speak to everything that's going on in life. People are dealing with children that are sick. Those are big things, right? I'm not talking to that. I'm talking to the people that are constantly an excuse and nothing ever gets better, or they do a little bit and then it doesn't change. Your life is not going to change if you don't change yourself. That's the other thing my programs do. They don't teach you how to go outside yourself. They teach you how to go inside and change. So I basically said, it's a simple answer, yes or no. I don't need a whole story. I don't need a long email. And it's whatever is best for you. And then she wrote me back and she said, and it was a very nice email, actually. I give her a lot of credit for this. She didn't get pissed off because I had to check with my assistant, like, was that mean? And she's like, no, it was very direct. And if one thing I hear from all of you guys, I really like you because you're so direct. I'm sure it pisses people. I know it pisses people off sometimes. I don't mean to. My intention is never to piss people off. My intention, I think, is to motivate people because I believe in people more than they believe in themselves. So much so that I'll start crying right now. And I think that, like, I didn't have that in my life, right? And I didn't come from, my mother was a good mother. There was different things. I had good education, all of that. But for the most part, I was around people who didn't, who put me down, even my own family. So I am so, like, it took me so much work to believe in myself that when I see people and I see the talent in these strategy calls and I'm like, holy mackerel, and you're sitting on that? Why? Why would you sit on that? What are you waiting for? Now, again, certain circumstances happen in life, and that my heart goes out to people for that. But not majority of the time, I see a lot of excuses. And I'm not talking to those people anymore. I'm done. I'm talking to you, who's the innovator, who's the creator, who is ready to move forward. And this woman is too. Like, God bless her. Much love to her. Really, I know who she is to a degree. I don't know her very well, but I know I don't think she's ever been in any of my programs. I know she follows me. That's great. That's why I do the podcast, because people who can't, or they don't want, whatever it is your story is, I'm glad I can give you some free stuff because that makes me happy. But I can't. So her comment back to me was, and I hope she doesn't mind me using her, but it was a really good point. No, I can't do that right now. I don't think it was about the strategy session because she said something about social media and not being able to keep up with it or something. And that, which I get, but you have to learn how to use it if you're going to run a business. You really do. You have to learn how to use it. Ricky, I'm going to have you cut out the social media part too, because that's private. So let me just redo this whole part. Okay. And I'll let you know it's at 37:52 and you'll hear it. So you'll hear where I go back. So the email back was basically, I can't do that right now. And I wasn't sure what she was referring to because she wrote a couple of things in there. I wasn't sure if it was about strategy session. Like I said, I don't care. That's fine. And I was hoping that we could barter. I don't barter. I never barter. Never. I value my work so much, and I value your work, that we should be paying each other, not bartering. Now, some of you may be like, well, what's the difference? I'll tell you what the difference is when you get into a barter situation. I did it once. I'll never do it again. We both have different ideas of what the value is. So sometimes people are like, I'll barter with you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm usually $12.50 to $1,500 an hour. You want to barter that when you're at $250 an hour? Okay. That's not fair, right? An hour of your work and an hour of my work. I'm not comfortable with that. Are you comfortable with that? Because you're going to basically work in 4 hours for my 1 hour. So be clear. Is that what you want to barter? And then there's the time when I bartered, the very first time I bartered, and the woman felt like she was doing a lot of work for me. I didn't. What she was turning out was crap. And so we ended up not having a good situation. And that was very early on in my career. And I said, I will never barter again, ever. And I don't barter. I will pay you. You can pay me. I'll take that money and pay you if I can't pay you. I won't hire you if I can't pay you. So when I go to a coach or I look into a service and they tell me their price, I'd sit there and decide, okay, can I do this? Do I feel like it's worth it? And a lot of times I do feel like it's worth it. It's more like, okay, is now the time? Is this going to be great? And then I find the money, I pay for it, or I come back and hire the person. I never negotiate with someone, ever, ever. I don't even negotiate. The only time I'll negotiate, I used to negotiate with cars, right? That's a negotiation, not anymore. I don't negotiate with handymen. I don't negotiate. Sometimes I just don't. Tell me what it's cost. If I think it's inflated, because there's like, I just went into a car dealership and they were like overinflating stuff because I have a valuable car to trade in, and they were such asses that I'm like, I'll go to another dealership. I will not deal with you. Then I went into Toyota. I'll say their name. I hope that's okay. They were amazing. They were so nice. They weren't pushy. They were like this. They even wrote in an email to me saying, this is how I like to do sales. We just tell you the truth. We're very direct. We're very honest. We don't like playing games. That's what they told me in an email, basically. And I said, I wish I loved that car that much. Toyotas are great, but I have two big dogs and they got to fit into a certain vehicle and so on and so forth. Please do not email me vehicle ideas. So anyway, I do hope you find my sense of humor in all of this. I do appreciate, people want to help. People were helping with the dog. There's one woman I'm communicating with Facebook Messenger and she's helping with the dog. It's very sweet. So I do appreciate it, but I don't like unsolicited advice. I hate it. And you're all listening to me, but I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm telling you how I live my life. And then when I get on people's cases about not moving, it's because I care. I really, really care. It's not because I want you. Of course, I'd love for you to come work with me, not for me, with me. But wherever you go, as long as you're doing the work, I celebrate you. I'm happy about that. I've seen too many people say, I'm going to go here, and they're really doing it because maybe it fits their budget, and I see they're in the same place years later. I'm like, well, did that work out for you? You don't always you want to look for the person who's worth the price, who's good. So anyway, I said, I don't barter. So thanks anyway. Thank you so much. I thanked her for that. I'm sure what you offer is valuable and great. I didn't diminish that, but I don't barter. So the last part of this is learn how to value yourself. Learn how to value yourself. Learn how to value what you're selling, and learn how to ask for it. And it's not about inflating your prices just to get more money. I see so many people doing that. I'm offering 100K mastermind and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, if it's 100K mastermind and it's really worth it, great. Good for you. I don't have a problem with what you're charging. But the people I know, a couple of people I know that are doing it, they're just doing it for the sake of being able to say they're doing 100K mastermind, and it's all friggin' ego. How do I know? I hired one of those people. I didn't pay 100K. I didn't buy that package. And it was shit. So I know. But I see people out there, I think somebody said, I don't know if it's a rumor, Tony Robbins like 100K for an hour. I don't know what Tony Robbins is. Don't quote me. Good for him. Good for him. I don't care. Good for him. Know your value. But it's not about inflating your price just to be like, I'm going to inflate my price. That I can't stand when I see that. So like Next Level Living, it's $7,000 for the year. It's got a payment plan if you want a payment plan. Not a lot of money. Can't tell you how many times they say to me, wow, that's all it is, and we're getting all this. And I feel really good about the price. It'll probably go up in a bit. I don't know when. Right now, I'm really good with the price. I like to give more value than the price. I want to over-deliver to some degree to you. I don't want to over-deliver so much that it's at a detriment to me. I've done that before. You don't want to do that in business. No, no, no. I did that with membership at one time, and I was like, ooh, no, more of that. And I had to learn how to deal with that. So I like giving a lot of value for the price. I feel really good at the price because I know it's affordable. I know the payment plan's affordable. Maybe not for everyone, but for the people that are in there and want to be in there. And it feels really good to me. And I love when they say to me, and I don't feel like it's somebody just said on my Facebook page, I'm always being told that I don't charge enough. That's a different thing. Nobody's saying to me, I don't charge enough. They're saying, wow, I can't believe we're getting all this value at this price. That's a different comment because I'm very comfortable at that price. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to lower it so or I'm going to raise it so that I feel good about myself. You want to see where your internal value is with the pricing, right? Like I know my coaching packages, and I doubt I would ever lower them. I really doubt it. If anything, they're going to go up in price. My I know my readings price, right? The strategy sessions are actually lower than my coaching price just because I'm enjoying that doing them and getting to know the clients. And a lot of them are great for NLL. So after I do the sessions for, I give them a lot. I'm like, ooh, you would be great. So it's great to get to know people. But what I'm also loving is I'm getting to see struggles that you guys are having on a one-on-one basis, which is great because it helps me to know what to teach, what material to put out, how to help you all. And I'm liking the connection a lot. There was too long where the connection wasn't there, and I'm really enjoying the connection. So I don't mind that, and some of you may think it's too much money, and that's okay. You get to decide that, but I'm not going to shift it. So know your value. How do you know your value? That's a much bigger conversation than I can do. We're already at 45 minutes or 42 minutes because there are a couple of edits that are going to come out of here that you're going to hear about now, but you're not going to know what those edits were. Anyway, I don't mean to piss you guys off. I do mean to ruffle feathers. I actually really, really care about people a great deal. I really love people. Well, not if you're like an idiot. What I mean by that is someone who's nasty and mean to people. But even those people I can find compassion for. I really care about your well-being. I care about you succeeding. I care about you living your dreams. And I'm tough. I know that. And I it's who I am. Really, I'm not like that though with my students. They know it. Like I'll give them a little kick in the butt, but they know that I truly love them and I see them. So if somebody's struggling with something in front of me, like we'll talk about my client who did the reel, she's so talented. So the way that I would kick her in the butt is like exactly that, like acknowledging how talented she is. What are you doing? Get your stuff out there. Don't, I got into productivity with her. Like, where's your schedule? How are you spending your time? I need to know. I need to see that because we need to find out what's going on. So it's never in a way that diminishes the person, but it is tough love sometimes. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm sending you a ton of love. So if you're interested in how I work, I didn't really go in how I work. You can do a strategy session and really get a feel for me, which is marilynlaurie.com/call, CALL. If you're interested in Next Level Living, which I really do think is the most incredible program out there right now, it's the programs that I know, right? marilynlaurie.com/next. I just really believe in what's coming through me, the channeling that's coming through me, the teaching that's coming through me. It's very elevated and it's going to elevate your life. Much love to all of you. And I have to teach you all how to rate, review, and subscribe. So I'm going to share it real quickly now. If you're on Apple, you can't do it from the episode. You have to go to the show. So if you go to the show, I probably shouldn't do it after an episode like this. They'll be like, 1 star, bitch. Anyway, go to the show on Apple. You can't do it from the episode. It won't show you how to rate. So you go to the show and then you scroll down and it'll show 5 stars. It's usually before like the synopsis of the show or something. You'll see 5 stars and then you could hit the stars and then you can write a review. So that's how you do it. I'll probably share that again. All right, guys, much love to all of you and thank you so much. Bye.